What are you taking a shot at this week?
Well, Jim, let's go from that story. Let's now talk about the Prince Mongo of wrestling. Jon Moxley's in the news. I don't know if you've been following this story or how much you've heard about it. It got a lot of attention yesterday as the story broke. I have an article here, Jim, from Sports Illustrated or The Takedown on SI.com, whatever any of this means. The article by John Alba. AEW and Jon Moxley sued for negligence, civil assault, and battery by production crew member. Exclusive. Christopher Dispenza is seeking compensation following an incident on AEW Dynamite in 2023. Jim, have you been following this?
I've been following a bit of it. I haven't read through the minutiae as I believe we were about to examine. But at first, I told you right before we went on the air, I thought I might recognize this name. And I went back and was able to find old emails that I was another Chris with an Italian sounding name that I was thinking of. So it's not, I don't know this fellow. But I've seen the footage and have formulated some hypotheses, depending on exactly who or who may not be full of shit here, but we'll discuss this. Go ahead.
And like you said, it's from a cage match that was on Dynamite 2023. Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley. And before we even talk about this or anything else, I didn't remember the incident. Did you?
Well, my God.
Did anyone?
Did anyone know? Because there's much more violent chaos than this going on every week. That's why you can't remember, things like this. But, from the clip, again, it's nothing out of the ordinary that people would have remembered based on the things that AEW do as a work and as part of the program. The only way that it would be memorable is if you had known at the time that, depending on who you want to believe, the camera guy or the crew guy, cable puller, whatever function he was serving, was not ready for it and didn't know it was going to happen. That's the only reason it's newsworthy. Otherwise, it looks like they attack people, crew members, security people, powerbomb people off stages. This didn't look like anything noteworthy at the time.
Well, again, back to this article from SI.com. A production crew member who has worked with All Elite Wrestling since 2019 has filed a civil lawsuit against the company and AEW World Champion Jon Moxley, Jonathan Good. In it, he alleges various degrees of negligence by AEW and Moxley, alongside civil assault and battery against Moxley concerning an incident on AEW Dynamite in 2023. The lawsuit was filed against the parties on May 30th in the Wayne County Circuit Court by Christopher Dispenza, a longtime wrestling and entertainment production crew member who started doing contract work with AEW in 2019, which is, by the way, the year that AEW started up on TV.
Yeah, it would have been hard to start before that.
Dispenza is not a direct employee of AEW and provided services to Broadcast Service Group, which supplies crew for AEW. His legal team...
Can I jump in and just
Please.
To give some type of clarity for people before we gloss over it? All of the camera people and the sound people and all of the technical crew that work on the weekly wrestling shows, even for many for the WWE and for AEW or whatever, they're not physically employees of the company, and that's what they do with their life all the time. There are some, especially the WWE has some people that are full-time. AEW may have the same thing in major positions, but in a lot of cases, the producer of the television program will contract for extra audio people, cable pullers, depending on the situation, camera people. You usually want to have your camera people as regulars because that's a specialized technique in wrestling. But nevertheless, there's a lot of guys and women on the various crews doing something for the television that are just contracted from that local area by whoever the producer is going through. So this guy could have still done a variety of television tapings for him, but he was not technically an employee of the company, whatever.
Well, back to this. His legal team, Rate Law PLLC, told the Takedown on SI that he has not done work with AEW since December 5th, 2024, and was demoted by Broadcast Service Group to the role of carpenter without explanation.
But if he were a carpenter instead of a cable puller,
as of Monday morning,
how do you demote? Wait a minute. How do you demote somebody to be a carpenter unless they already know how to carpent?
Right. Unless you've already done woodwork. All of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell? He was out in the ring with the fucking cables and the goddamn camera, and now go build something out of wood.
It would have been a good gimmick. Like, oh my God, Kenny Omega's tripped over a board. What is going on here? As of Monday morning, SI had not yet received a response to the filing from AEW. Dispenza claims he suffered severe neck and shoulder injuries as a result of being shoved to the ground unexpectedly by Moxley during a match with Kenny Omega. Dispenza alleges in the lawsuit that the incident resulted in him requiring cervical fusion surgery,
Jesus,
shoulder surgery, and treatment for other unspecified injuries. That's the dick. Let's go.
Jesus Christ.
No, let's go to the next thing here. Dispenza said the injuries occurred on the May 10th, 2023 edition of AEW Dynamite in Detroit. There, Moxley faced Omega in a cage match, which ended up spilling to the outside. Moxley went to grab a screwdriver to use on Omega, and in doing so, shoved Dispenza to the ground. The lawsuit claims Moxley was supposed to only grab the screwdriver, and Dispenza took an unplanned fall as a result of being shoved. His legal team alleges this is an example of civil assault and battery, claiming that in allegedly deviating from the script, Moxley either showed intent to harm Dispenza or, quote, at a minimum, a complete disregard for whether harm was a result.
Disregard, negligence, indifference, however you want to phrase it. Can we stop here for a second?
Please,
because this is the whole goddamn deal. They wanted to be cute. And this was when they were using the screwdriver. Remember when the screwdriver was all the rage before the golden scissors and the goddamn, then the enema bag became a thing. I don't know what the fuck. But they were trying to be cute with how does Moxley suddenly produce a screwdriver? Well, there's a crew guy at ringside and he's got a screwdriver in his pocket. And Moxley, you see on the clip, goes up and snatches the screwdriver out of his pocket or his belt or whatever it was hanging off of. You see that on the video. But then you also see Moxley snatch this guy and bring him in a little bit and give him a shove. Yes, Moxley is trying to, again, to portray this alleged badass image he's got and he's dangerous and he's whatever. But what he did was he got carried away, went into business for himself because apparently, from what this suit alleges, and I can believe, and I'll tell you why I can believe in a minute, the guy didn't know he's going to get fucking shoved or thrown or pushed or whatever. And he's not a professional bump taker. And that's why I think if the guy had known, hey, Moxley's going to grab you and fling you, unless they can find some documentation that he wrote down on paper, oh, I'm okay with taking a bump and him throwing me, signed crew guy, then why would they not get some indie fuck to be the cable puller or whatever, just so he could stand there holding a screwdriver and take a bump? It was Moxley going into business for himself, and the guy didn't know it was coming. Now, again, when you looked at the video, it's not the most horrible bump anybody's ever taken, and that's why everybody was on Twitter everybody that wanted to defend AEW was like, this guy is trying to soak a billionaire. He ain't hurt. That wouldn't have hurt anybody. And everybody who likes or doesn't like AEW is going, yeah, Cornette said this all along. I said one of the fans was going to sue him for being stupid and getting hurt. And them hurting them. I didn't say they were going to sue him for the crew being stupid with the crew, but that's a whole new level of stupid. But if the guy has been a cameraman, I don't know what he was. Again, he didn't have a TV camera in his hand, but maybe they stuck him out there to have the screwdriver. He couldn't have the camera. He was pulling cable, whatever he's doing. But a lot of camera people, if they're sitting there with a fucking however many pound camera on their right shoulder, holding it for hours at a time, they develop shoulder and neck issues. And then if a guy gets shoved down on that, as we saw on Raw with Liv Morgan, we'll talk about, but I mean, people splashed their mattress in bed harder than Liv Morgan went down, but she separated her shoulder for a shoot because it was just time. What if he separated his shoulder because it was just time? He had a bad one. He was going to go. He didn't know he was going to get shoved by some fucking goof. Whatever the fuck. The point is, if Moxley went into business for himself by grabbing the crew guy and shoving him around, or even if Moxley said, hey, I'll grab it and I'll shove you away. Okay, he was thinking, he'll shove me, not I will fling you to the fucking floor. Whatever. It didn't need to be done. And you can start reading because there's more to it because they strung the guy along apparently for a while. But I mean, yet there can be ulterior motives to any lawsuit. But they're also leaving himself, if the guy is trying to get money for nothing and his chicks for free, they left themselves open to it by just doing stupid things. Go ahead.
Hey, listen though, in the history of AEW, who has done more things that were self-centered that didn't help the company and got away with it more than Jon Moxley? From cursing on the air to obviously this.
To bleeding on people, or to just the unprofessionalism of constantly slicing his head open on camera.
We talked about, you always brought up the fact that, Stephen Pinu, it's some fan is going to get hit and it's going to cause a problem. We saw the thing with Cena. Was it Cena? No, Steve Austin at WrestleMania when he drove into the barricade.
Yes.
And the woman took that fall. But AEW, we've talked about it for a while because you actually see feet go into the stands and hit fans or come close to them. This is not that. This is not an accidental thing that could cause a real lawsuit. This is a direct, Moxley decided to do something. This guy got hurt, according to him. He could sue. We never thought of this angle of it. We always thought it would be some fan who accidentally got hurt, not some production crew member.
Not beating up part of the fucking crew.
Guys, I have to get cervical fusion. I'm really in a lot of pain. All right, we're going to make you a carpenter now. Go get your saw.
Hey, you know what? There are people. The guy that I ran over with my car when I was trying to kill Terry Landell 20 years ago in Knoxville. He actually had gotten elective surgery, is what they were saying, because he was a pill doctor shopper fellow thing. So but that does seem for the average person, and chances are against you want to get cervical fusion surgery just to try to win a lawsuit.
Well, back to this, the lawsuit alleges that Moxley, here's a quote, had a history of disciplinary issues before the incident involving other people while under AEW's employee, agency, and or contractual relationship. It also says that these past disciplinary offenses by Moxley included a documented history of unpredictability. That's why Johnny Rods was blackballed from the business.
That's right. Now we can't have that unpredictability-ness.
As well as a lack of control by defendant AEW, all of which were known or should have been known to defendant AEW at the time of this assault.
And I mean, that could be, to be honest, I don't think we've missed any goddamn felonious assaults on other people in the locker room that may have been covered up, but that can also be this guy continues to be reckless. He flings furniture around when he's out in the crowd or he's coming through these entrances. He just goes wherever the fuck and, causes an issue. It could be simple as, these type of complaints. It just goes to show he does whatever the fuck he's going to do.
However, multiple high-level AEW sources with knowledge of Moxley's working history with the company, and not speaking in an official capacity on AEW's behalf, told the Takedown on SI that they were unaware of any history of disciplinary issues with Moxley, noting he is respected within the promotion by talent and management. One referred to him as a locker room leader.
Oh, good
and
Lord.
Disputed the characterization of Moxley given in the lawsuit. So let's stop there. Again, not an official AEW statement, but AEW sources, which could be everything
what are they going to say? My God, he's like Manson. We've got to, please help me, send police. They're not going to say that. They're being sued. And again, whether the boys all like him or not doesn't necessarily mean that he's been easy to work with for the production crew with the aforementioned flinging things around, running over people. Whatever the case, we don't know what complaints have been lodged from that quarter. And again, I don't hear anything that makes it out like he's randomly wandering around goozling people around the neck. That does tend to get some attention in that company. But I think they're just saying he's got a tendency of going right whenever he's supposed to go left, and we don't know what the fuck he's going to do. And then he grabs me and shoves me down and jams my shoulder and my neck hurts, and here we go.
The filing also claims Moxley and AEW are responsible for exhibiting gross negligence, suggesting, here's a quote, by going off script and violently shoving Plaintiff, who was only a crew member, to the ground, Moxley demonstrated a substantial lack of concern for whether a severe injury would result to a production crew member at the event. It adds, in taking no precautions or preventative measures to protect production staff, defendant AEW's actions likewise show a reckless disregard for the safety of production staff, which goes beyond simple inadvertence. I got a question for you, because I don't know the answer to this. So these companies, because you have experience with them, that like this guy works for, that are the production company for hire for an AEW, when they're not doing AEW Dynamite, an AEW Collision, and AEW pay-per-views, what are they doing?
Other TV shows, or other shoots, or a music video, whatever requires the television crews. They're comprised of people that have individual specialties, whether it be working in audio or working in video or working in a position in a truck or rigging shit or whatever the case. So they do that for other productions. Sometimes it's shit that at concerts and whatever. There's a lot of crossover between crews that do live events like concerts and or sports events and do wrestling or television work, video, whatever. So that's the thing is these people don't know, they know that it's a fucking big bunch of phony bullshit, but that doesn't mean that you can fling them around, as part of the thing. It's not like in the territories, whoever was running the camera was probably the promoter's brother-in-law. You knew you weren't going to get sued if you kicked him in the nuts, but now you can't do that.
Well, scrolling down a little bit, Spence's legal representation tells us that he claims AEW's upper management was aware of the incident, but says he never discussed it with them. He alleges to have met with Tony Khan and AEW General Counsel Chris Peck about potential full-time employment opportunities in the months after the incident, but acknowledged there was never a prior conversation about the injuries he says he sustained. Let's stop there for a moment.
Hold on here a second. Did he also say later on that he was treated at some point by the AEW medical staff?
It says here, his attorney also noted Dispenza said he never filed an official incident report that night because he had another job on tour that he had to get back to, but he claimed he spoke with 3 individuals that evening about getting hurt His legal team said Dispenza relayed his alleged injuries to ringside physician Dr. Michael Sampson, director of performance psychology Chris Manzione. Performance psychology, interesting. And a member of the athletic...
As opposed to Chuck Mangione, who feels so good.
And a member of the athletic training staff. Dispenza claims Sampson was upset over the situation, saying that all stunts or interactions outside the ring must be approved by Sampson beforehand. Sampson was near Dispenza.
Yes, was that during that like 2-week period of time where Tony made that announcement and then they just went back to fucking mayhem?
Sampson was near Dispenza when the incident occurred. He said Sampson asked him to go see the training staff. He was eventually told he would not be treated any longer by AEW's athletic training staff, and that the incident was never acknowledged again, according to his attorneys, Dispenza. It also said Dispenza and Moxley never discussed the incident beyond briefly after the segment. He's looking to obtain compensation for injuries suffered due to the actions of the wrestler and the company he worked for, and the filing says the amount in controversy exceeds $25,000. He incurred damages, including but not limited to medical expenses, disability, permanent and serious disfigurement, wage loss and lost earnings capacity, pain and suffering, and damages for mental and emotional anxiety, humiliation, and or indignity, diminution to business reputation.
Can we get money out of indignity these days?
Also, his business reputation and opportunities, other economic and non-economic damages not yet known, and
Jesus Christ.
And all other damages available under Michigan law. Michigan. Man, the Sheik is lucky he's no longer around.
What about, Roy Massey over in West Virginia sued Stan Lane because he could no longer enjoy the not public consort, but the personal consort of his wife.
I never realized they were swinger. I never realized it was a public thing. I can't fuck her at a diner anymore. What the?
People are not going to nearly enjoy Biscuit World as much now. But where I was going with that, let's pick up a couple of things. First of all, in excess of $25,000, people have picked up on that. Like, well, Tony could just pay that with me. No, that's not what they're asking for. That's a legal amount, a bar you have to clear that this is in this type of suit because we're asking for at least this much. I think the locale, the amount may vary, whatever, but they could be awarded millions of dollars and there's still that amount is in the initial filing. Secondly, like he said, he had a tour he had to get back to. He was probably doing something with some crew on some type of concert tour or whatever the fuck, and he didn't want to goddamn give that up. And of course, he probably got sore later on, but he told him he took a bump, and they saw him take the bump. And then later on, he said that he didn't file an official complaint. But if he hadn't filed any kind of complaint or there wasn't any kind of issue, then why would Tony Khan and what's the fella's name? Is Lawyer Pecker? Why would Tony Khan and his Pecker?
No, Chris Peck.
Well, yeah, Tony Khan and his Peck. Why would they have been talking to him about it? And full-time employment, does that sound to you like every time that somebody remotely has a problem, Tony Khan has run to them and offered them shit? Or remember the legal team? What was her name? Megan, when she was on the legal team?
Mega Parikh.
Well, BJ Whitmer's ex-fiance or whatever, she had run to her and offered this, that, and the other thing. Sometimes they overpromise shit when they think that people are actively mad at them. Oh, we'll do this and that. My God, you could move in with Shad, my dad. I mean, anything. But then when it's not immediate, they just fucking slack off and forget about it. But then did they think this guy was malingering because he was wanting an adjustment every time he showed up at TV? And how would this directly have led? Like I said, this could have been the straw that broke the camel's back to previous injury or damage or whatever. But how were they not dealing with this in any more timely fashion when it led to him having some type of cervical fusion? There's still a lot of questions from both sides on this.
Well, one of the big questions for me, according to this, and we're going based on his filing here, if he was hurt in December and he didn't talk to AEW about it beyond Doc Sampson, like he wasn't, and people who he talked to that night who he works with, but he wasn't running like the HR or anything. And then out of nowhere, a few months later, Tony Khan, the head of the company and the chief legal officer, 'cause I think Mega may have been gone by that point, just back to the Jaguars, they sit down and talk to him about a potential full-time employment. It's never brought up. We're just thinking out loud here. He says it's never explicitly said, but why else?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying is that they tend to overpromise at the start when they say, "Oh shit, somebody's mad at us or we got a problem. Oh, we'll make them happy."
That's Vince McMahon. That's what Vince used to do.
Yeah, but he would at least follow through on some shit.
Some shit. Sometimes.
Some shit. But they just, again, how did it get this far that this guy's filed a public lawsuit that they couldn't figure this out twixt then and now?
Yeah, and again, not knowing how their independent contractors on the production side are treated or what agreements they have to sign, if anything. If this guy doesn't have one of those AEW arbitration things and he could actually go forward with this.
Oh, no, fuck no. There would be no.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
There would be no reason in the world for a crew member to have any type of. Honestly, I don't know why they'd have a written agreement with AEW of any kind, much less arbitration and anything. Crew members most of the time like that. And again, there's always exceptions. I'm happy to be corrected. But the average crew member would be an independent contractor in the audio field that has been being hired by, what was the name of the company? Broadcast Services.
Sounds like a fake company.
Well, no, I mean, they could, they got out of that phone booth and into a fucking bodega now for their office. But they would be an independent contractor being said, show up at Tuesday at fucking noon and fill out this form for us with where you're, what's your address, your social security number, we're going to pay you. And they'd probably be paid through the production group rather than AEW directly. But point being, there's nothing short of an actual wrestling contract that you could sign that would indemnify AEW from one of the wrestlers grabbing you and flinging you about. So it doesn't matter what kind of paperwork the crew member had. It's not covered. You can't do that. It's like, we think of the fucking guy at Kroger, right? The fucking manager of the bread aisle at Kroger gets pissed off at the fucking cashier, just goes over and chucks her over the goddamn counter. Well, even if they both work for Kroger, they're not having to go to arbitration about that. Is this a whole nother fucking ball of wax here?
Did you see Ricochet's since deleted tweet?
Oh, yes. He's always got to jump in with his dick liquor and fucking put it in where it ain't belong and then delete it later. What did he tweet that he had to delete? The world is full of such pussies.
Oh, well, he retweeted the article and wrote, "We live in a world of pussies."
Yeah. And, well, pussies take their tweets down.
Is that a step up from saying he's looking for attention? This cervical fusion. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find
now, if Chris Dispenza comes down with skin cancer, we're really gonna have a problem here now.
Then he's really looking for attention. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here, but obviously a lot of the listeners want to hear what you have to say because you've talked in the past so much about potential lawsuits, again, with fans. What does this say to you, if anything, about the state of AEW? Again, this happened a couple of years ago, but they drew it out for a while for whatever reason. But the state of AEW and specifically Moxley, and Moxley seemingly being able to get away with anything he wants in that company.
Well, this was needless. And Moxley's probably going to say, at least in private, well, the guy told me I could shove him or whatever. But nevertheless, if you try to do shit with people that don't know how to work, it's going to look like shit anyway, which this kind of did. But it didn't add anything to the proceedings, and it just causes, problems behind the scenes. But to the point of the matter, they've left themselves open for lawsuits. This guy being there to work instead of being there because he was a fan, they've actually done shit that should have got him sued more than this that we've talked about. But because the fans that were there, that may have been the ones that have the case, the ones to be infringed on, they wanted to be there. They didn't want to sue. They like AEW, or they like wrestling, or they like the wrestler that landed on them, or whatever. So that's why you don't hear of anything like that. But this guy was just being paid to be there to do a job, and he don't give a shit. And now whatever's happened, that's the other. We need to hear more from the other side to find out what's the matter with this guy, that why this happened that long ago. And there's these other conversations that have gone on, and how we went from a shove down to a cervical fusion. But it's not like that he was predisposed in any way not to want to sue this billionaire and his big company if they were indeed responsible for something. So that's, in the old days, the fans didn't give a shit if you knocked Junior's teeth out, right? Somebody's going to pay for this, damn it. It's not like, oh, but it was goddamn Ricochet. I love him. But this guy don't give a shit. He's not a fan. So that, that may be why this is the department that is sued first. But they need to just be careful what the fuck they're doing and pay attention to their shit. And in Moxley's case, not believe his own bullshit hype.
We live in a world of pussy, says the guy who, last I saw on social media, was arguing that he's better than Io Sky.
Than a girl.
Yeah, better high flyer than Io. He could do what Io Sky does, I think was his argument.
Yeah, well, and you know what? The more I see of him, the more I think that he does a lot of things I bet Io Sky does. We'll just leave it at that.
We will stay on top of the legal beat.
But by the way, deleter, pussies delete their tweets, eh?
All right, Jim. Well, we will stay on top of this. The legal department will find out more, but perhaps Mr. Dispenza, after the fact, or Moxley at any point before or after, could just use a good night's sleep. Maybe that would have solved everything, caused less mishap, less problems. A good night's sleep, and of course, for a good night's sleep, you need a good bed.
I think if Moxley had a night's sleep, but the night he was on Pluto, so the nights are hundreds of years long, possibly put him in suspended animation. But I'll tell you what, folks, for the rest of us, if you just want to lay down for 8 or 10, maybe even 12 hours, depending on if you're getting old or if you've had a snoot full, and you want to get the best night's sleep that you've ever had in your entire life, our friends over at helixsleep.com are going to help you out. That's Helix, like Felix the cat, but only with an H, Helix. And they do not put cat fur in their mattresses. Unlike most of the major manufacturers, no cat fur or cat gut will be incorporated into your mattress. Only good old-fashioned Christian ingredients that mattress gods intended it.
Again, they have great mattresses. We can't really speak to what goes into it other than...
Well, no, we can say that there absolutely is no cat fur nor cat gut.
We can say that, yes.
And I said again that it's only good old-fashioned Christian mattress ingredients, not rocks, barbed wire, bottle. There's no bottle caps. Folks, you can sleep on a Helix sleep mattress like you're a little birdie in a nest. Like that the mama bird has made this nest especially for you, and you get to lay there as an egg, and then you get to hatch and come out and chirp, and then you can eat worms on these mattresses too, ladies and gentlemen, like a little birdie should. Because they've got mattresses for all kinds of people. Whether you sleep hot, or you sleep cold, or you got sleep apnea, or you got back pain, or you snore, or you sleep on your back or your side, they've got specialized mattresses to either alleviate or accentuate your problem or your concern in the manner in which you want it to. All you can do is go to helixsleep.com and you take the little quiz. Then you answer some questions about how you'd like to be interred on this thing. And then they will predict the perfect mattress for you. It comes to your door. Actually, it's accompanied by human beings. It doesn't just walk there. And then you take it out of the box and fluff it right up on you. But take the old mattress out first. You don't want that in there. It'll get crowded. And then put this one in and take the old mattress out and back and just put a sign on it that says, just carry this old piece of shit off. Because you're going to get rid of grandma's sour belches and cousin Timmy's farts and all the various other things that the dogs and the cats have done over the years. You're going to get you something something clean to sleep on. Something fine to sleep. See the bird shit on it too. Something fine and nice to sleep on. And guess how much money you're going to save? This is going to blow your mind. If you were ever going to get a Helix mattress, as we've been talking about them for years, and many people have, they have told us this, they have registered the proof with us of this, but some people haven't. If you're ever going to get one, then now's the time to get it, because you're going to get 27% off site-wide for the big 4th of July sale. All you got to do is go to helixsleep.com/JCE. The code is JCE. That's going to save you 27% off site-wide. And it doesn't say just one mattress here. So if you get 5 or 6, you want to pass them out around the neighborhood. Maybe you'd like to see the next door neighbor's wife on a brand new bouncy mattress, or at least in your own mind, you'd like to see that.
Again, it doesn't have to be bouncy. The great thing about Helix is the mattress can be exactly what you want it to be.
Well, have you seen the next door neighbor's wife? It needs to be bouncy. But you get 27% off, so you can buy them for the whole family or somebody else's family or people that you'd like to make part of your own family. They'll be indebted to you.
Let's bounce into these great savings, Jim.
Yes. helixsleep.com/JCE, the 4th of July sale between now and, and then 27% off side-wide for the Helix Sleep mattresses. Get one for the kids, for the old people, for the homeless bum down the street. At least he won't be sleeping on your front porch. That's where that big yellow stain came from. Just get them all up and down the street, and everybody can dive into one. helixsleep.com/JCE.
All right. Helix Sleep, of course. They've been here a long time. We love them here in our house. Jim and his family love them over there. Check them out today.
You love them over here. You love them over there. You're going to love them everywhere.
They get the endorsement. helixsleep.com/JCE.